welcome. Welcome to Leadership Tidbits with Coach T. Wilson. I am your host and leadership mentor, Tywauna Wilson. Thank you so much for tuning in to another amazing episode. And as always, I have another awesome mentor who's going to be sharing with us tonight. And for me, this topic is on time and personal. So if you could come on in into our virtual learning laboratory, come on in, introduce yourself, let us know where you're coming in from so that we can greet you and welcome you in properly. But in the meantime, let me just go ahead and tell you who our mentor is. So, our mentor is Miss Jessica Eastman Stewart. Hi, Jessica.
Hey, I'm so glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, I am super excited to have you in the studio tonight. I am going to read a little bit about you, but of course, you can tell our viewers or those who will be listening to the audio version of this about yourself. But Jessica is the founder of Joyfully Managed Family. She is a mother of two elementary age children, a former classroom teacher, and a former nonprofit executive who now helps families create systems and routines to build in more joy and ease to the challenging work of managing careers and family life. Who doesn't need that? She is active on Instagram, so you can catch her at Joyfully Managed Family and has a weekly email with 5 tips for families that you can sign up for on her website, jessicaeastmanstewart.com. And I'll make sure that you have that link. So, Jessica, that's really good stuff. First, before you jump in and tell us about yourself a little bit deeper, let the viewers know where you are coming in from so as they know I'm here in Ohio and you are.
I'm in Oakland, California, so it's just before dinner time here, before the craziest part of the evening for families often.
Awesome. So, viewers, as you know, I like to bring you mentors from all over. So, this week's mentor is coming to us from West Coast, USA in California, which is awesome. So, want to welcome Miss Diane into our virtual learning lab. Miss Diane is coming to us from Cincinnati, Ohio, and she is the owner of Christie Collections, which goes right in line with the topic today. So she has awesome shower curtains, pillows, you name it. She has it, and they're very inspirational. And so we have a set in our place that has colors and numbers and I am beautiful and all of those positive affirmations. So definitely check her out. And so without further ado, Jessica, I will turn it over to you if you're ready.
Of course, I'm really excited to talk about balancing career and parenthood because it's really hard. Parenting is the hardest thing I've ever done. And I know that's true for many folks. And sometimes we don't, talk about it as much as we need to about how challenging it can be. And especially to be a working parent, whether you're in a multiple, adult home or just a solo parent, it can be tricky. So I'm excited to share 5 practical tips today. It's going to be pretty practical. And I'd love to see questions in the comments. I can see them coming in from the different places we're live right now. So bring those comments in and I'll try to address those questions as we go. So without further ado, let me see if I can we get the slides up and then I'll have that. So okay, like I mentioned, 5 practical tips. My purpose in life is to help more people have access to joy and ease. And so I believe that is especially true for families and especially true for working folks. And, I'm a working mom, so I have a special place in my heart for working moms. So without further ado, let's just have the first topic. So my first tip is to give up the guilt about being a working parent. I put here what society and sometimes our own internal voices can tell us is that, we need to work like we have no kids and raise kids like we have no work. And there can be a lot of guilt around being a working parent. And I just want to let folks know that they can set that guilt down, because what the academic research really tells us is that, especially for kids of working mothers, they are going to turn out happy and successful. In fact, I pulled some of the research earlier today. So, daughters of working moms are actually 1.3 times more likely when they grow up to be somebody's boss, having seen their own mom be in the workforce. The sons of working mothers are holding more egalitarian attitudes about gender balances and what the role of women and men should be in the home. They're more likely to see themselves as equal partners, and see men as contributors to home life, if they had a mom who was in the workforce. And those kids that have working moms are also likely to have attain higher education levels when they grow up. So there are so many beautiful ways to raise kids, and you could stay home and have an amazing experience. There's so many beautiful parts of that. You can also have a job, even a big job, and there's lots of different ways that your kids will benefit from that. So if you're feeling guilty, listen to that maybe you really want to stay home, and maybe that's telling you to try to find more ways to do that. But if you love your work and you love your kids, you can have the best of both worlds. You don't have to have just one or the other. So I want folks to let go of that guilt. Okay. My second tip is to take your household systems up a notch. I remember I have two kids, ages 5 and 7. And I remember they were, my daughter was just 1 when my son arrived. And so we had, just a little 1-year-old and a newborn at the same time. And I remember after they went to bed one night, just sitting there crying with my husband, because everything just felt like a total mess. It felt just like there was too much for us to stay on top of. Two working people, with, jobs that were intense, and trying to raise these two tiny kiddos. It was just a lot. And that night, we actually came up with a system that we are still doing today. And that system, we called it our daily list, or at the time, we called it the Daily 5. And you'll see that on my slide here, I've written some blogs about these topics on my website, jessicaeastmanstewart.com. So if you want to dive into any of these, you can definitely find more information there. But let me tell you the basics of the daily list. The Daily 5 for us was, we're going to put these babies to bed, and afterwards, there's 5 things that every single evening we're going to do after the kids go to bed, because these 5 things help keep our world from completely falling apart. And that daily list might be different for everybody. For us, it had things like clean the breast pump and pack the bag so that it's ready to go tomorrow, to get all the milk taken care of. That was one thing. We needed to pack lunches for everybody, because turns out we needed lunches for the kids and lunches for ourselves and all of that. We needed to take out the trash if it was full, and do the dishes, right? And different things kind of have, at this age, we don't have a breast pump in our lives anymore. But these days we have to sign our kids' reading logs, and that's something that is on our kind of daily list. So, what are the 3 to 5 things? And you got to really edit here. It can't be 13 things that you need to do every day. Like, you don't need to change the sheets on the bed every day, probably, unless you're in that period where you're doing some potty night training. Then you might need to do that. But, what really needs to happen, and it can't be everything, but what are the few things that, if I can just get these 3 to 5 things done in our home, whether it's cleaning the home, or, it might be something that, isn't about kind of cleaning. Maybe it's just staying organized. Like, we need to do the dishes, take out the trash, and talk about tomorrow's logistics. And those are your 3 things, because you need to figure out who's taking kids, who's picking up kids, who's got the car, do the kids need anything special because it's, St. Patrick's Day and somebody's got to wear green, what are your things? Get that list in place and post it somewhere so you don't have to remember it. Get it posted up on a Post-it, on the microwave, on the fridge, and and start getting into that habit. Kids are down, do the 5 things, then you can relax, scroll, watch your show, whatever you need to do. But daily list has been a huge savior for us. Next, your weekly list. So after we got great at the daily list, we added on a weekly list. And for us, that was because we realized that there are things that needed to happen in our home and family that weren't every day, but they needed to happen every week. And so we figured out, okay, what are those things? And let's try to spread them out through the week so we're not doing them all at the same time in a way that feels overwhelming. So I'll give you an example. Friday is our trash day. So on Thursday night on our list, our Thursday thing is take the trash cans to the curb. And then we had to do a few other things. We had to say, you know what? We need to wash the kids' clothes. We're going to do that on Tuesday nights. We also need to wash towels because otherwise we'll forget and we'll be like, is this towel? How old is this towel? I was like, I need to wash them at least once a week. So Monday night, we wash all the towels in our house. And on when our kids are now eating school lunches, so we don't have to pack lunches anymore. But we would typically on Sunday pack lunches for Monday and Tuesday, and then on Tuesday night pack lunches for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So what are the things that need to happen once a week in your home, and how can you put one of those for each day? So what that looks like for us is every night we're doing a couple things from our daily list and usually one thing from our weekly list. And if it usually takes us 15 to 20 minutes to get through this list if we just kind of punch through it, but our lives are so much better as long as we get at least a few of things done each day. And then finally, we have a weekly meeting. And so this is for whoever the adults are in the house. And I believe this can work even if you just have one adult in the house, or if you have, many adults because you've got some, multi-generational home. But we have a weekly meeting, my husband and I. We do ours on Saturday morning. The kids get screen time, which they love. We get focused time to get organized. And during that meeting, we're doing things like looking through next week's schedule to talk about who needs to do what. Oh yeah, we need to get a birthday present for Zachy because, our son has got a birthday party to go to next week. And oh yeah, we're doing a meal train for our friends on Thursday. So we need to make sure to get extra groceries so we can make them that lentil soup we promised. And we do a quick check-in about our money. We do a quick check-in about any parenting priorities, things that are starting to not work or things we want to work on, like, hey, I think we need to really support so-and-so with reading better. So what do we want to do about that? Let's talk about summer camps and what we're doing about that. Or is it time to potty train the little one? I think it is. When are we going to do that? And how are we thinking about that? So it's a time for us to come together to talk about kind of the big and little details of our lives. And the agenda of this meeting would be different for each family, depending on what's going on in your lives. So I'm actually pulling together a live workshop sometime in April on this topic. So if anybody's interested, you would come to the workshop and basically leave with an agenda that's personalized for your family. So if you're on my email list or following me on Instagram, you'll surely get information when I go live with tickets for that. But the weekly meeting has been a humongous help. And my kids are still kind of little, but I'm excited to incorporate them into part of that weekly meeting as they get a little bit older, because I want them to be a part of some of the logistics of our family and talking about how we're living according to our values and all of that. So taking up those household systems is my second tip. And I'd love to see in the comments if any of this is resonating with anybody. And then another piece is thinking about your weekends. Weekends can be rough as a parent because, I wish we had 4-day work weeks in our culture because I think we need a weekend day for like relaxing, weekend day for like life logistics, and a weekend day for fun. But most of us are getting just 2 days each weekend. Even though kids can be so much fun, they are basically never relaxing, at least at the age that my kids are. And so it can be hard because sometimes you really wish you had some time for doing things that you're not having. So the key for me has been to essentially have like a formula for designing your ideal weekend and trying to hit as many pieces of that recipe each weekend and planning ahead for that. So maybe for you, your ideal weekend has some time outdoors. Maybe it's got, a date night. Maybe it's got time to read or exercise or be with friends. Or maybe if you've got more than one kid, you realize that you get really quality time with each of them when they're not together sometimes. Because sometimes, kids are a little bit, grumpy when they're together. So maybe you really wish you could have time with each kid individually. Whatever that looks like for you, what is that ideal weekend? And how can you look at your weekend and say, okay, and if you're planning with another adult, for example, with my husband, I might say, I really need some alone time, to recharge and kind of spend time by myself. I'm definitely an introvert. So when is that going to happen? And we might say, okay, well, how about my husband will take the kids to swim class on Sunday. And during that time, I will stay home and get some alone time for myself, and my husband, it matters to him to exercise. So we'll think about, okay, you need to ride the Peloton at least once this weekend. When is that going to happen? And kind of figuring that out and kind of first, when we're planning our weekend, first putting in what matters most for our own happiness and sanity and for what our kids need before, things just kind of happen to us, right? Like the more we plan ahead, the more likely we are to get that what we need from a weekend, and it doesn't have to be, don't let perfect be the enemy of the good here. If you have a perfect ideal weekend where you go for a jog and have brunch with friends and get alone time and spend one-on-one time with your kids and also grocery shop and meal plan and, read a book, that's a lot for one weekend, right? So don't try to, be perfect here, but get really clear. What are the things that do matter to you? And how can you try to get at least a handful of them in, each weekend or each, over a month? How can you make all of them happen in a weekend? So that's another tip. That's tip 3. Tip 4 is to delegate more. So, and I apologize, this slide got a little wonky, but you're already delegating in your life. I promise. Like maybe there are people watching today who do sew all of their own clothes. Maybe there are people watching who raise chickens for meat and eggs. But the chances are you're probably not doing all of those things, that there are things in your life that you are outsourcing, like I purchased this artwork from somebody else. I did not make this, right? I did not build the computer that I am talking to you from today. I outsourced that by spending money on buying this computer, right? You are already delegating things that are not in your zone of genius or things that you really enjoy and are great at. So what else can you delegate? So for some people, that is house cleaning. For other people, could you find a way to share school drop off and pickup with someone? Could you hire a local college student to help you with that? Could you get groceries delivered instead of going to the store? It's usually a lot quicker, and these days quite a bit of a lot more affordable than it used to be. Could you do laundry at one of those places you drop it? There are places that can do laundry for about $1 a pound. Maybe this weekend you could weigh your laundry and see, okay, how many pounds are we talking about? And is that, worth my investment for each week because I don't have to worry about it. Do you need to hand address holiday cards, or could you just upload to Shutterfly or Snapfish or something your, a spreadsheet of addresses each year and have them take care of that for you? Maybe you love mowing your lawn. I don't have a lawn where I'm currently living in Oakland, but as a kid, that was maybe my least favorite chore was mowing the lawn. So if that's not something you love and enjoy, then maybe you could outsource that. Find a kid in your neighborhood who really is trying to build their entrepreneurial spirit and outsource that to them. I have a virtual assistant and it is amazing. She is based in India and for $12 an hour helps me so much with things in my business. Could that be something that you work with? And if anybody wants to DM me, I'm happy to share more about that. I work with her through an agency and they're awesome. But what are the things that you just wish you could get off your plate? And could you trade some money for time, knowing that time and sanity are deeply connected? You don't have to do everything. So think about what else you could delegate in your life. And then finally, life is bunch of chapters. It's a bunch of seasons, and seasons change. Chapters end. So you can't do everything at the same time. You can't be a person who cooks home cooked meals, exercises, reads novels, is an amazing parent who volunteers at the school, is like killing it in your career, who gets outside for a hike all the time, is a great friend who's supporting friends and spending time with them all the time, getting awesome amounts of sleep, and like, eating a salad every day for lunch. Like, it's just not realistic for you to be all of those people at the same time. So let it be okay that you're going to be some of those things. What can you give up for this season? What matters most in this season? And I'll give a couple of examples. When I was a new parent, I I felt awful about the fact that I used to read books and I did not read books anymore. I read the internet, but I wasn't reading any books. And I felt awful about that. I just felt like, ooh, like I used to be a reader and that was part of my identity. And you know what? I let myself off the hook and said, I'm not a person who reads novels right now or self-help books or anything. I'm not reading anything that's not on the internet. Um, and for a while that was true. And then, eventually a couple years ago, I started picking up a book or two and realizing like I could fit it in again. And I love reading, and I just let it be that for that chapter of my life, I just didn't have the energy, time, focus to do that. And that's okay. At the time, another thing I remember thinking was, I'm not a person who is like stylish. Like I'm going to go to work and I'm basically going to wear some kind of black pants and a blouse every day and the same pair of like fake pearl earrings. That's what I'm going to do. And I'm the same pair of shoes every day. These like black flats. That's what I've got. That's all I can do. I can't be more stylish. There are people around me who like have cute shoes and always look put together. And I can look, you know, like I can be like basic professional. Like I can do that, but I can't be like, oh, I love everything. Your outfit is so amazing. Like I just couldn't get there. Um, and that was okay because I wasn't saying that I'll never be that person. You know, um, there are times when I've like set a resolution, like I'm gonna get my family outside, for a hike every weekend. And the reality is that's just not that important to us at the end of the day. Plenty of things are, but that isn't. And so I'm not feeling guilty about it. So don't get clear on what does matter to you and deliberately let the other things go. Don't have it be where you feel like you should do all of these things and then you feel bad for not doing half of them. Instead, take the whole list, recognize it's too big, get clear on what really matters, and actively say, this other stuff doesn't matter right now. It doesn't matter right now. I'm going to not worry about it because what does matter is each day I am going to prioritize A, B, and C, whatever that looks like. Maybe you really love cooking dinner and that takes up time and energy and mental space. So you got to acknowledge that it takes that. Fine, put that there. Maybe you say, I don't like that or I can't fit that in right now. So right now we're going to do this easy meal thing because that is what works for us. But what matters to you, put it there, let everything else go, and know that you can change. You don't have to marry this idea. You can date this idea. You can say, you know what, I'm giving up on that thing. And if I change my mind next year, then next year I'll do it again. But let it be okay that you can't be everything in every chapter of your life. Especially when you add the intense emotional and physical energy required to be a parent. So those are my 5 tips. And I would love for you to be in touch with me because I love sharing tips like this every day in my world. And I'm excited to have gotten a chance to share them with you all.
Wow. That was awesome, Jessica. I mean, you had so many great tips. And you know me, the viewers know me. I love practical. So, what can you give us that we can use right away? So, a couple of things that I noted that you talked about is really giving yourself some grace. And moms out there, dads out there that are raising children, it can be difficult. And making some of those calls, you're like, I'm a bad parent, trying
Yeah.
to do it all. And yeah, it could definitely be overwhelming. So I loved what you talked about, the daily list, weekly list, and the weekly meetings, important of setting yourself and your families up for success each and every day so that it is less overwhelming with getting children together, getting lunches together, keeping stuff around the household in order. So I love that part. I also loved about planning your weekends and making sure you fit in those times that are important to you. So whether that's working out, whether that's just having alone time for yourself, that's critical. Your own mental sanity is very important. So finding those moments, finding your support system to help you with that, and then figuring out where you can delegate. You don't have to do it all, which is key. Listen, you can't do it all. Is it? So figuring out
Right.
where you can delegate. One of my co-hosts on the Elaborate Topics podcast, she posted recently that her daughter got her a housekeeper for the year. And I'm thinking, wow, that is awesome. Because again, where you spend your minutes at matter to you. And so that would definitely be something. If somebody want to gift me with something. Listen, I'm putting it out there just in case somebody want to be
Ask the
nice
universe.
to me.
May it
But
be.
I would rather spend my time doing something else than cleaning and dusting and all of that. And it's not to say that, that I don't like a clean house, because I definitely do, but I would rather spend my time making memories with my family versus cleaning blinds and cleaning the floor and all of that good stuff. So I love what you talked about delegating. But one other thing before I jump into the comments, some of the comments that we have, I think that was critical is that you said life is a series of chapters. You can't do it all the time. And I thought that was gold because when I think back prior to motherhood and I think about all of the things that I did, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to be able to do all of those things. And it's not that season. And it's not to say that it won't be that season again, but it's just not that season for some things. And I think back to, I would plan things with my friends and I was the connector. And now I just don't have the energy to do that and the other things that are important. And that's important too, but you can't do it all. You can't do it
Yeah.
all the time. So I thank you for that, because that was really about giving yourself grace that you can't do it all. And there's a season for everything. I'm like you. I have those same few clothes that I wear all the time. And I have in my mind that I want to wear all this fancy stuff. And maybe I'll get back to it, but it's just not that season, and that's okay.
That's right. Yeah, and the thing is, you've got to realize too that it's a little hard to let go of those things because you're not what you're not doing is letting go of stuff that doesn't matter to you.
Hmm.
Like it's just saying like all of these things are important to me, but I just can't have all of them at the same time. So it does
Hmm.
hurt to say, "Oh, I don't want to give that up." But the reality is, if you want to be like sane and healthy and happy, which is
Hmm.
important for our kids too, then you've got to let something go, and just
Right.
be okay with it.
Right. Yeah, and you're right. I know at the beginning of my journey of being a mom and being a wife, that guilt would be there. And I would feel like, okay, I'm taking shortcuts on some stuff, finding easy meals, finding quick meals, packaged meals, because I went through a phase where I was even buying meals that was already mostly put together, but then you would put it in the oven or something like that. And then
Yeah.
I'm like, well, am I cheating my family because I'm doing this? And there's just so many things that come to mind. and there's no book on
You're doing
balance.
you're doing a great job. Your kids can eat dino chicken nuggets every night and they're going to be okay. They're going to be all right. Sometimes that's just what needs to happen.
Yeah,
You're
that's
doing your best,
right. Right. So Annie said that you are awesome. Yes, Jessica is awesome.
Thanks, Mom. That's my mom.
Well, hi, Mom. Thanks for joining us. I'm
I
happy to
learned
have
everything
you
I
here.
know from her.
Awesome. Miss Diane said, great tips. Thank you. My kids are grown, but I can use those tips regarding my business. I'm a little scared of working with a virtual assistant. So, yes, it's time to delegate some of those tasks out. And Jessica has it together. So, send her a message.
Yeah,
And
let me
maybe,
know. I would love to. You can find me on at Joyfully Managed Family on Instagram, or you could email me at jessica@jessicaeastmanstewart.com. But I love working with a virtual assistant. I'd be happy to share how I found one and the kinds of stuff that she does with me. I'm thinking about doing a workshop on this because I feel like so many folks could really benefit
mhm,
from 5 hours a month or 10 hours a month of virtual support.
mhm.
And so I've been thinking about like maybe we should get together and have a conversation about that. So anybody who's interested in that topic, DM me and I'm happy to share my tips that I have so far. And maybe one day I'll make a whole blog post about it.
You should definitely do it. And I know your style would be very easy and relatable, that teacher in you. So, yeah, you should definitely do it.
Awesome. Will do.
And Gerardo, and I apologize if I butchered your name, but coming into us from Connecticut, a fellow scientist. Whoop, 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 whoop. So great tips for busy fathers. So awesome, awesome, awesome. So happy you were able to get something out of it. And yes, I mean, busy moms, busy dads. Listen, we're all busy trying to work and have careers, but still be great parents. So yes. Miss Diane just said thank you. And I'm not sure who said the workshop would be awesome. It's not showing up here in our platform, but a workshop would be awesome. I'll have to see over on LinkedIn who it is, but thank you for coming in and chiming in. And if you have questions, drop those in the comments as well so that Jessica can answer those for us. So, Jessica, I do have a question for you. So, how did you
Okay.
make that transition or figure that you move from the classroom to doing your own thing in your business? How did you make that transition?
Yeah, so I was a classroom teacher for a number of years. Early, that was the first thing I did right out of graduating college, and then ended up working with a group of other folks to do some advocacy in our local school district, and that turned into a nonprofit. And I actually got to work and lead there with other educators and families. Community members for over a decade, doing education policy advocacy work, which was such a privilege and joy. And then last year, I decided that I was really passionate about helping families and leaders find more joy and ease in the world. And so decided that I would, branch off and spend my time creating resources for families and for leaders at nonprofits and coaching folks about how they can find more joy and ease in their lives. So it has been so much fun. I get to spend my time doing things like this, which is, I just love so much the chance to talk about this stuff with other folks. And, every day I get to learn something new, which is also really interesting. Every day I'm like, how do I do that on Instagram? Or how do I make a reel with the changing, everybody's always doing the hand in front of their face. And, I'm like, how do you do that? So I get to learn something new all the time and it's a lot of fun. So I'm enjoying it.
That's awesome. So, talk to us. Why is the fun necessary? So, when you think about it, when people are busy doing their career and they're thinking about success, sometimes fun doesn't come to the forefront. Stress comes to the forefront, but not
Yeah.
necessarily fun. So, how do you go about, changing or helping somebody change their mindset to like fun is necessary and you need it in your life and your career in your day to day.
Yeah, I mean, I would argue that fun might be the whole point. That at the end of, and I realized that, I spent, over 15 years of my career working on helping kids get access to quality education from different seats. And I realized at the end of the day that what was motivating with me was that I wanted kids to have, when they grew up, to have choice, and
Mhm.
so that they could have joyful lives doing what they love to do and have, an education, I think, helps you get choices in life. It opens up so many doors. And so I think that everybody deserves to have joyful and easeful lives. And I think that not all of us have the same level of access to that. Right.
Mhm.
There's all sorts of, privileges and different things that make that harder for different folks to get, and life circumstances. And yet I do believe that there are ways that all of us can get a little more joy and a little more ease in our lives. And so that's what I want to help people do. And I just think it makes everything better. Joy makes parenting better, right? Like yesterday was March 14th, Pi Day. I used to be a math teacher, so I love to I see a comment coming in from one of my cousins. Hello. The um joy makes parenting better. Yesterday was Pi Day. I was a math teacher, so 3.14, it's the relationship between circumference and diameter of any circle. Very exciting. So March 14th, get to celebrate Pi Day, and we had pie for dessert in my family. And it's like silly, but it adds a little bit of joy. I like try to
Mhm.
remember, and we occasionally will look up like silly days, like when is International Pancake Day? Is there a hot dog day? And we'll have that for dinner because we celebrate half birthdays with half cupcakes in my family. We'll pick up
Mhm.
some cupcakes and cut them in half, and you know my son is 5.5, and we're gonna have cupcakes with a candle, because why not? Life is short, so let's enjoy it while we can. And so joy makes that better. It makes work better.
Mhm.
Leading teams in my career, we would always be much more effective as a team and more impactful on the work we were trying to do in the world, and happier as human beings if we were having fun together. Everybody that's ever had a job knows that's true. Like joy at work really matters. And so I think that there's really nothing that joy can't make a little bit better, even when life is hard, right? Like,
Mhm.
even in resistance, even in, movements, even in protest, like seeing like protests where people are also dancing, like we need joy in all of those things to keep us going, to make the kind of world we want it to be, I don't want to live in a world with no joy. So I'm trying to bring it as much as I can while acknowledging that life is also rich and full of multitudes. So
Mhm.
life is not always joyful. That is true. We have, we're dealing with death and grief and jealousy and anger and, righteous anger, and all of these things are true. So
Mhm.
it's not to be toxic positivity, like you should always be happy or joyful all the time. Like that's not real. And we've got to feel those feelings. The only way through those feelings is to feel them,
Mhm.
acknowledge them, let them be true. But amidst that, what are the little bits of joy we can have, amidst all that hardness? Because it can't always be a struggle, or else we're never going to make the change we want to see in the world.
I love it. You're right. You got to find joy. I mean, especially if you're working now and it doesn't matter the industry, everybody's working short. And so you're probably working more hours. You're probably
Hmm.
doing, two times the work. So those little bit of fun that you can do, it really does matter, especially now more than ever. So I think that's awesome. And so your cousin, Deborah, says she
Hi,
is so
Deborah.
smart and beautiful. Yes, she is. Yes, she is. And this is an awesome topic that she's talking about. I can tell that you are very passionate about this and empowering families and leaders and people in their career and in their home. And I think that is beautiful.
Thank you.
So, viewers, if you have some questions for Jessica, make sure you drop those in the comments. We would love to have your engagement. And you can also let us know what was your takeaway. And so she gave several great tips. And what was your takeaway? What is something that you're like, you know what? I need to delegate more. Like, I need to delegate more in my personal life or in my business or even at work. Like, I probably need to delegate and know that I can't do it all. I'm so stealing your life as a series of chapters. I'm stealing it. I will give you credit.
Great.
I would definitely give you credit, but just that you can't do it all the time. And there's a season for everything. So whatever the season you're in now is the season you're supposed to be in. And it doesn't mean that it can't change as the seasons change. So I think that is important. So,
Yeah.
what is your biggest like self care? So, I know that's a huge thing too for people is like, okay, self care, they hear about it all the time, but there's still that juggle. Like, okay, there's only so many hours in a day, but how do I even find that time and what do I even do for myself? So, what do you
Yeah.
do?
The two things that I've learned in my life that are the most important self-care. The first one is probably 90% of it, and it's the daily reset of a good night's sleep. Like, especially for parents, going to bed early is how parents sleep in. It's like a disappointing truth, but it's the reality. Sleeping in is not a thing anymore for me. Maybe one day again, but it's not a thing right now. So, um, you know, getting a good night's sleep makes a humongous difference for me. And so I have gotten better and better over the years at realizing that if I think I need to stay up and work late, I'm almost always wrong. It's almost always better in the end if I just go to sleep,
Mhm.
wake up and try again tomorrow. Everything feels easier when you've gotten a decent night's sleep. So for me, investing in sleep is really important. That's number one. That's probably 90% of my most important self care. And then another thing that really matters for me and my energy, because for me, my energy is like my most important asset. Like if I want to be a great parent, great at my job, a great wife, like great friend, like I need energy for all those things. And so managing my energy is really important. And one of the things that helps me not have that like afternoon slump is if I get outside and go for a walk. And usually I try to do that sometime in the morning. Not like I'm not currently in a chapter of life where I do that at like 6 a.m. That's not my thing. But I will, look at my calendar and say, okay, that's a phone call. I'm going to go for a walk during that phone call. Or, hey, I'm going to write this workbook this morning. And then after I write the workbook, I'm going for a walk. Or I'm going to go for a walk between those two meetings. And I try to pick each day, where can I fit in a walk? I actually keep a pair of sunglasses right by the door where I work, because sometimes I get an unexpected phone call and I will pick up the phone and pop on my sunglasses and just go for a walk, even when it's unexpected. Because for me, that makes a huge difference in how energized I feel from like that 3 p.m., like through kid dinner and bedtime can be an exhausting time of day. And for me, it tends to be a lot easier if I have moved my body in some way. And right now in this chapter of life, for me, that's going for a walk. At other chapters, it's been like going to an exercise class, a dance class, or doing a Peloton. And right now, I just honestly, I'm just not doing any of that, but I can go for a walk. So that's what I'm doing right now. And if I get in some sort of physical movement, it makes a huge difference. So That is what I'm currently trying to do for my own self-care. I mean, I guess another thing is like over time, I got to have alone time. Like I can't just be around people all the time. I'm definitely an introvert who recharges by myself. So that looks like, weekend time alone, taking a nap, sometimes after I drop my kids off in the morning, I do a little Starbucks trip, maybe do the Wordle in my car while I'm waiting for them to do my drink and get my little alone time to start the day. So those are the big things for me.
I understand. I'm an introvert too, and I get refueled when I get alone time.
Yep.
So I
Yeah.
definitely understand. When you talked about the sunglasses, it made me think. So I'm so I'm trying to read. Listen, you hear my daughter in
I
the
hear that, baby.
background. She like, hey, like,
She's
listen,
like,
you can wrap
it's
up.
time. Yeah. I don't know if you know, I need a book read to me
Right.
right now.
She like, my snacks done ran out. What are you doing? So it made me think of I'm reading a book, Atomic Habits, and when you talked about the
I've read that
sunglasses,
one.
and it said those cues. What are those cues that kind of start you off to being on a good track? And having your sunglasses near the door is a cue that, okay, if I have my sunglasses near the door, then I'm going to go for a walk. And so it reminded me of that, of setting those cues to be able to set those habits for success or whatever the case may be. So it could be somebody wanting to run. They could simply make sure they put on their running shoes. That would be their cue for being able to do that habit.
Right. Or like I wanted this week to post on my Instagram every day and go for a walk every day. So I have this post-it note and I'm just trying to post and walk every day. Post and walk. So you can have, and again, this doesn't say and also eat a salad and also go for a run and also like, get 10 new sales of something. Like it's just post and walk. That's what I'm trying to do. And, it's easy to track and, it makes me feel like I can be successful.
Awesome. So Kristen, she said, great advice on self-care for both physical and mental health to recharge. So awesome. So I wanted to make sure that I gave your website so that people that are listening, make sure you go to jessicaeastmanstewart.com so that you can get on her list, get some of her tips. As you can see, she has practical tips because what we know to be true is if you got too many choices, too many decisions to make, a confused mind does what? Nothing.
That's right.
And so make sure you go and get connected with her so that you can get some of those practical tips because maybe you're overwhelmed and maybe all you need is a jump start. Maybe you just need your sunglasses by the door. And so, Jessica, as we are nearing the end of our time together, I'd like to ask all of our mentors, what is the one or two tidbits that you want to make sure that the viewers or listening audience get so that they can go ahead and implement right away?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is just to remember that you're doing a great job. Being a parent and being a working parent is really hard. Being a parent who doesn't have another job outside of being a parent is really hard. It's all really hard. And however you're experiencing it, you're doing a good job. And if you just love those babies, you're going to make mistakes in how you love them, but you're still going to be okay. So I just want folks to feel like it's okay. And if if you get into my orbit and you're with us at Joyfully Managed Family on Instagram or in my email, you're going to feel that energy of like, I think you're doing a good job. And here's some ideas that might resonate with you. Take some, leave the rest, but hang in there. Like we're all in this together. And, the more that we can live joy, the more we teach our kids how to live that way and, can collectively change the culture around the intensity of all of this. So keep doing a great job.
That's awesome. I think we all need to hear that. We need to hear it as parents. We need to hear it in our career. Our children need to hear it that you're doing a great job. So you heard it. Jessica said.
That's right. You're doing it. You're doing a great job. I know for sure.
You are doing a great job. And if you feel that you are struggling, especially if you have little ones and you're trying to work, and it can be a struggle, you can start with something just like that each and every day. I believe in affirmations, and I think those are very helpful. And that's something that you can say is, I am doing a good job, because sometimes you may feel like you're not. And so just having those affirmations will be a start. Jessica, you're awesome.
Thanks. You are too. This has been so fun. Let's do it every week. I love it.
I know, you got to come back. You got to come back. You've definitely been awesome. My kind of girl. Practical tips. Listen, I done wrote down my list that I'm ready to implement. And
Awesome.
This has just been great.
So fun. I love it. Thank you so much for having me.
And so, one more time, if you could leave your information so that people can get and stay connected with you.
Yeah. So you can find me at jessicaeastmanstewart.com. The best thing to do there is sign up for emails. So you'll get a weekly email. I call it my Friday 5. And that's just 5 tips for making your life more joyful and easy every Friday. There's also a bunch of blogs there on all sorts of topics, from like parenting to having a smart home and how to use, your Alexa. Oh, she's going to talk to me once I start saying that, to all the things. So you can find me there. And then on Instagram, I'm at Joyfully Managed Family. And that's where, I share daily tips about how to, find more joy and ease in your life. And every Friday, I post Friday Funnies, which is my favorite memes from the week. And it's basically my favorite part of the week. And so make sure to follow before this Friday so you can get the really funny memes, and you can find last week's if you search through, because pretty much everybody tells me that's their favorite part of my Instagram. So I am curating memes that will make you laugh out loud every Friday. So come follow me there.
So if you need a good laugh, you know where to go. You need to get connected with Jessica. So I'm going to do that, because I need a good laugh every week. Laughter is good for the soul.
Great.
Well, thank you, Jessica. This has been awesome. I have really enjoyed having you in our virtual learning laboratory, and you sharing with all of the viewers, and then even those who will hear the replay of this audio. I think they're going to get some great tips. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great evening.
So thank you, viewers, for tuning in to this week. We will be back next week, next Tuesday, same bat channel, same bat place, with another amazing mentor. And do me a favor, share this out. I'm sure that you have somebody in your network who could benefit from hearing from our amazing mentors. So until we meet again, my friends, I hope you have an amazing week.